South Metro weather, I want to bring your attention to this storm in McLennan County. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect here, but with this storm, I have been watching over the last several minutes, and the trend has continued. An area of rotation looks like it's south of Gulson, west of Lacey Lakeview here, going to be north of Waco, headed towards the Lacey Lakeview area, and it doesn't look at this very moment too intense, but if I bring up the velocity view here and be mindful of the fact that this is a fair distance away from the radar, it's actually kind of in between two radar towers. But we have been seeing a pattern, a persistent pattern of rotation here. Again, this is kind of on the south side of Gulson, west of Lacey Lakeview. You can see the brighter greens and the yellows there and the red. And that does refer to some rotation going on in that area right now. So that's what we're seeing. So just south of Gulson, we are looking at rotation. And I want to put this in motion here. Let me cut down that frame count, but there you can see it. So I mean, as it goes forward, you can see here, and actually, let me get this to where I can kind of go back a few frames. So as it moves eastward, you can see where those colors are just next to each other, and then you start to see them kind of mixed together. So that's, and really this last frame here really got my attention too, but you can see the rotation there that is in that storm. Now, let me make very clear that I do not see a tornado or I have not heard any kind of confirmation of a tornado right now, but there is rotation in this storm. Overall, we've been talking about a relatively low tornado threat. However, with these gust fronts that you have here, you can have these spin-ups that happen. And we're also looking at the fact that south of there, we are looking at kind of an area that hasn't been worked over that much, not like the northern half of our area. Just one second, folks, I'm sorry. And so, you know, we are looking at this area of rotation, and I'm checking the phone to see what kind of reports we might be getting over in the Gulson area there. So once again, I want to make clear, I've not heard confirmation of a tornado or anything. There's no tornado warning with this, just a severe thunderstorm warning, but there is an area of pretty clear rotation going on in that area. Again, you can see the inflow and outflow here. You can see the brighter colors involved with that, and it is a bit of a ways outside of the radar. And if this is accurate here, and let me show you again, we kind of had this trend, like I showed you, where there was some, you know, we've got the reds and greens right next to each other there. And then this is where you can see the red kind of starting to go this way. You can see the green kind of going in. And then as we went forward, you can see that trend. Now, this latest scan does not look quite as suspect, so that rotation could be reducing just a little bit in terms of its organization and that kind of thing. So hopefully that's the case, and that may be why the National Weather Service has held off issuing a tornado warning. They want to see if that was going to be maintained. And at this point, it looks like it may be trying to kind of disorganize there. I'm not seeing any kind of a very organized hook with that either. And so that is a good sign overall. We do still have a severe thunderstorm warning in place for that storm that is moving across McLennan County right now. And so that tells us that we still have a threat of 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, as well as large hail. Either of those will be possible with this storm. If we broaden this out a little bit, you can see this is our complex. We've kind of been watching that ever since it was back near Stephenville. We saw that moving through from Stephenville down to Hamilton. We could see that getting organized, and that has shifted a little more south. And as I mentioned before, these areas have not been as worked over in the atmosphere as our northern counties that got most of the rain. Now, for those of you that have rain going on, we do have good news there. We do see the dry air really starting to filter east now, really making its move. And so with this dry air moving through, that will probably move up the timing in terms of when we will dry out and get those storms out of here. I do think that For Cleburne, will probably be done in the next hour or so. And then same for parts of Western Hill County here. And then getting into Ellis County, maybe another couple of hours. As we get into Corsicana here, maybe another 2 or 3 hours of rain going on there. But there are better signs that maybe we're getting close to about dinner time in terms of when that rain will be wrapping up. Part of what's driving this is this complex of storms. We see that moving through in the dry air, kind of pushing behind it, right? So that's part of what is driving this complex a little bit more quickly, and it could very well be increasing those winds as well. So let's get back to this storm in McLennan County now, and keep watching this area where we've been watching some rotation that's moving into the northern part of Waco now towards the Lacey Lakeview. So I don't really see anything too incriminating at this point. There are some gusty winds forming near Hillsboro. So from south of Whitney on through Hillsboro, just north of there, we do see some gusty winds, but those are going to be straight line winds. Those are all moving the same direction. You can see that it's all in the red here. So the red and kind of getting a little more yellow, that's going to be straight line winds. Now, keep in mind that straight line winds can still do quite a bit of damage, but we're not looking at a situation where we will be dealing with, rotation in that area. But those straight line winds can still do quite a bit of damage. So just keep that in mind. In Hill County, moving into Hillsboro right now, we do have increasing wind speeds there. Again, as we look back a few scans, again, you can see that rotation near Golson there, but we are seeing more gusty winds coming together south of Itasca, north of Golson in Hill County. So Hill County straight line winds, and we were watching some, what I would at this point describe maybe some less organized, maybe broad rotation on the north side of Waco, there near Lacey Lakeview. So those are kind of the areas that we're watching right now. Earlier today, most of the rain, especially the heavy rain, was in our northern counties. Now it looks like things may be calming down a little bit, getting a little bit of a break, a little bit more heavy rain, maybe steadier rain in Somervell and Hood counties. Of course, that flash flood warning for parts of Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties continues through 4 p.m. The same with that flash flood warning there in Navarro County. So that will persist on going forward. And then from Hill County down to McLennan County and on south from there, that is where we have this line of storms that will continue on to the east and could move into Navarro County, though I would venture to say I'm not expecting a whole lot in Navarro County because these storms are the most intense in areas that have already been worked over, or at least have not been worked over, as opposed to Navarro County. You've had plenty of rain and thunderstorm activity today, so that may allow at least the northern part of this line to run out of gas a little bit, I think, as it moves through Navarro County here in the next hour or so. Let's put this into motion here so you can kind of see what we're talking about. A few things that we're watching. Number one, more heavy rain going in Navarro County here where we do still have that flash flood warning, and you can see more heavy rain moving northward from Limestone and Freestone counties. So more heavy rain, unfortunately, for Navarro County moving in there, and that flash flood warning continues until 4 o'clock. And then the back side of that, where the drier air is filtering in, it is making its way. It's already drying out in far western portions of Hood County there towards Lipan and Toller. So as that continues to move eastward, that will wrap up your rain for the day. Again, that's moving up the schedule a little bit. This dry air is going to help push this stuff out. Maybe it won't linger around as much as it sometimes does, and we talked about that earlier. And then, of course, we have this line of storms south of us, and I made the remark earlier that this could be the complex that gives us a higher risk of severe weather. Turns out that is the case, and that's where we're seeing a higher likelihood of winds. We've seen those straight line winds picking up from near Hillsboro down towards Golson. And then we've talked about the area of rotation that we were watching there on the north side of Waco towards Lacey Lakeview. So let's take another look at that here. And again, we could be looking at just some broader rotation right now. I'm not seeing anything that immediately has me too terribly concerned. but I do think that we will still be, we still need to watch it. We still need to watch that area. Sometimes you have these sections of rotation that will intensify and then weaken and intensify and kind of go back and forth and back and forth. So that is the area of concern that we had just a few moments ago. I was out picking up my youngest son from his Mother's Day Out program, and of course it waited until I was away from the studio to really ramp up. But that tends to happen here, and it is what it is. I'm getting a report from Waco, 58, 66 mile per hour winds. So nearly 67 miles per hour. So we're still getting some straight line winds, some higher wind speeds from the Waco area right now. So keep that in mind too, that even if we're not looking at rotation, there are still strong winds that are possible with this storm. And that wind gust was approaching 67 miles per hour. And we'll see all of this continue to move eastward. So if you're in Lacey Lakeview West, I see the comment about Hubbard, Mount Calm. All these areas east of there, be prepared for gusty winds as this storm moves through. Again, could be 60 to 70 mile per hour winds going through this area. Let me get back to the reflectivity here and kind of show you that. It is raining right now in Hubbard. You've got a thunderstorm there as well as Mount Calm back to west, but this is what we're watching. So I wouldn't be surprised either to see hail that is at least an inch in diameter. I'll take a look at the, looks like in the Golson area where we have one hail core. Could be some smaller hail in other parts, western parts of McLennan County. But the highest hail threat right now is moving through Golson, and that will be moving towards I-35 here in the next several minutes as well. So we'll show you that here on the reflectivity. Here's that hail core. So that's where we're watching the highest risk of large hail. Again, I would say quarter size to $half size hail possible. I don't think we're quite getting above that at this point, but that severe thunderstorm warning, a pretty standard warning at this point. So warning of, again, quarter to $half sized hail in this storm, winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. So a lower grade severe thunderstorm warning, not saying it's anything kind of catastrophic, that we haven't seen any kind of major damage threats, but in where we've been watching that rotation, now you're starting to see kind of a hook form again. And so let's take a look at the velocity here. And yeah, so we're starting to see this ramp up again. Couple of things. South of Hillsboro, towards Abbott and west, we have some winds picking up here. That could be a downburst where we have those winds that drop down out of the cloud and spread out. But right near the Waco area, so between Lacey Lakeview and Waco, that's where we're seeing some rotation possible here. So right near Belmead, so that's going to be right near 35 right now. There is a Baylor University there, so right near Belmead, I think is where we're going to see the higher likelihood of rotation there. That's where we're seeing that hook as well. So where we saw rotation, it kind of started to subside a little bit. Looks like that could be ramping up once again. Just to remind you, we have not seen at this point a tornado warning or any kind of confirmation of a tornado or anything like that. But we are looking at some rotation that is just kind of on the leading edge of this storm. So you see Belmead, between Belmead and Lacey Lakeview, you see that pretty well-defined little hook there, little fish hook, and that looks to be where we could have some of that inflow starting to bring about some of that rotation once again. And I won't be surprised if there's some persistent rotation going on with that. And I know that generally Waco is just a little outside of our coverage area, but I always tell people between DFW and Waco is our coverage area. So northern side of Waco to Lacey Lakeview up to west, I mean, you're kind of on the fringes of our coverage area. So we'll go ahead and continue to monitor that for you, especially because tornadoes weren't necessarily part of the plan today. But I will tell you that now is a good time. If you have family and friends in the Waco area, go ahead and share this with them so that you can make sure they are informed on what is going on in that area there. I know that Waco, I think, generally has TV stations there, so hopefully they're covering this as well. They may wait until there's a warning issued, I'm not sure, but we generally try to catch it a little early, and we've had a number of these storms, these areas of rotation that we've caught early on, and we're able to kind of bring your attention to it and say, hey, can't guarantee something's going to happen here, but just to let you know it's there. And then, lo and behold, a few minutes later, we get some rotation that comes together. So we'll go back to this velocity view and see if we have any updates there. Looks like that's probably going to be the most recent, the recent stream, or the recent update there. So I think if we get one more update here, we're probably going to see some, probably, unfortunately, some more intense rotation. That would be my guess, because it does look like this is on a trend of kind of ramping up here, just on the north side of Waco, south of Lacey Lakeview. That's going to be right near Belmead, right along I-35 right now. So if you're driving on 35, you may be looking at a lowering there in the clouds, that kind of thing. Not entirely sure what the visual is there. You know what? Let me see if we can get, I'm going to see if we can get a view there, because we can get access to TxDOT cameras. Let me see what we can get. If we can get any kind of visual on that. Sometimes it's hard to see anything. Yeah, it's going to be hard to see anything because they're getting a lot of rain there. So it's going to be tough. And it may be tough to see any kind of lowering there as well. So just to kind of keep that in mind for you. But let's get back to the reflectivity, and here's that new image. So this is going to continue to move eastward. So this is now moving more towards Hallsburg, and I'm assuming that's Riesel. I'm not sure how that's pronounced, as a matter of fact, but this is now east of Waco there. So that's where we're watching for the possibility at this point of some rotation that we've been watching here, that we've been kind of keeping an eye on, now east of Waco. So let's take a quick look at velocity, see if we have an update here. Yeah, so it really, just a couple of things I want to point out here. We still have what looks like some broad rotation here. It looks like it's really struggling to kind of get organized. So still looks broad there. Looks like that's moving a little more southeast here. So if it's taking a right turn, that would be typical of something like this, but we'll continue to monitor that. So it's Riesel. Okay, so that's how it sounds like that's how that's pronounced. But I want to go back to the velocity view here and kind of show you, this is the southern end of our area. This is where all of this is headed, moving directly east here. So if you are in Mount Calm, you're in Riesel, like we talked about, Troy there. This is headed your direction. Eventually, we'll be heading towards Limestone and Freestone counties there. So Groesbeck, Thornton, up to Mejia, eventually towards Wortham, parts of Navarro County as well. You can see this in Hill County. Now, Hill County has been seeing some increase in straight line winds. These are not rotating winds. These are straight line winds. Could be 60 to 70 miles per hour. We've had reports of winds up to 66 miles per hour in Waco, so could be getting closer to 70 miles per hour or so there in the there in the area south of Hillsborough, so closer to Abbott and west. So that area will need to be concerned about straight line winds at this time. The larger hail threat probably on the north side of Waco right now, where we saw that hail core a little bit earlier towards the Golson area. So just to kind of keep you aware of kind of where these things are happening, we are looking at multiple kind of features here. This is a very classic severe storm. We've been looking at the fact that we're probably looking at hail quarter to $half size. We've been looking at winds picking up south of Hillsborough. You can kind of see this line. You can see those yellow colors towards Abbott and west. That's going to be your stronger straight line winds that are going to be headed eventually towards the Hubbard area. And then we have been watching some kind of on again, off again rotation near Waco. Haven't heard any kind of confirmation of anything there. Haven't heard any reports of anything on the ground or any lowerings or anything of that sort. But we have been looking at generally just some broad rotation that has been kind of back and forth in the Waco area. I'm scrolling just quickly through, let me see here. Yeah, I'm just not seeing anything reported on social media either. Well, okay, so here's a picture of the Waco area. It looks like a pretty good shelf cloud there, but not seeing anything that looks like a wall cloud at this point. So, I mean, there may be pictures that come out later, that kind of thing, but not seeing anything like that at this very moment. Someone on Facebook is saying that they can't hear anything. You may have to stop and start. I don't think most people are having an audio issue there. But if someone was to let Ann know to just kind of start and restart, or stop and restart the stream, she may have to do that to hear us. It sounds like she's having some kind of some audio issues there. So yeah, if you guys will help her with that, that would be great. So if we go again, kind of do a broader view here, just a few things I want to show you. The rain across Ellis County is not near as heavy as it has been. Lighter rain over in Johnson County right now. Now you see the back side of this continues to push eastward. That is good news. It looks like we will be able to kind of push that out of here, push the rain out of here a little earlier maybe than I was expecting. I was giving really honestly what amounted to kind of a more pessimistic timeline on this, thinking, after sunset for the end of the rain here, but it does look like maybe we will get a little more fortunate and could be closer to dinner time when this is eventually out of here. So just kind of keep that in mind. As far east as Corsicana, I know I had somebody asking me earlier, what time is the rain going to wrap up there in Corsicana? I think the heaviest stuff, I think the heavier rain may wrap up by, let's see, it's about almost 2:30 now. May be wrapped up by 4 or 5. I don't know if all the rain will be out of there by then, but I will tell you that the back side of this, the drier air, is making a pretty good case here. Pretty good pace, rather, towards the east. So clearing out in Hood County right now. Erath County just about completely drying out very soon in Somervell County as well, and then on from there. So looks like the heavier stuff is making its way east fairly quickly here. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning that includes parts of Falls, Hill, Limestone, and McLennan counties. So Limestone County included in that, not quite to Freestone County yet, but will eventually probably head that direction as this complex continues on to the east-southeast. So that's kind of your look around the area. You see these two flash flood warnings, one in Navarro County, one stretching from Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties. Those continue until 4 o'clock. Now people ask, well, once the rain clears out, they'll probably still be there. And people ask, well, why is that the case? You still have runoff, right? And so if water continues to run off into those flash flood areas, those flood prone areas, you can still have flooding issues. So that's why sometimes those will extend beyond when the rain is there, just to account for the different dynamics of what actually occurs there. So the severe thunderstorm warning here for the southern parts of our area, that runs until 3:30. So reports of 2nd and 7th Avenue in Corsicana having some flooding there. There is a flash flood warning there, as I said, so not surprising at all that there is some flooding going on in the Corsicana area. Been a lot of heavy rain there, been very persistent heavy rain in that area. But the good news is, again, that our northern counties are getting a bit of a break here. The heavy rain has ended, a little more light in nature at this point. It's our southern counties, particularly from Hill to McLennan County, just in our area specifically, that are dealing with this heavier stuff. Strong winds possible, northern McLennan County, southern Hill County. That's where we've been kind of looking at some of those stronger straight line winds. And those are not necessarily tornadic winds. Those are straight line winds. And then down east of Waco here towards Hallsburg and Riesel, that's where we've been, Riesel rather. I'm going to get used to that. Riesel here, that's where we've been watching this southern edge for the possibility of some rotation there. Otherwise, I think we could be looking at some strong straight line winds there as well. So that's where the more intense activity is, and you can see where the severe thunderstorm warning kind of extends here. So it's really the far southern parts of Hill County from Mount Calm over into most of, I would say, half about of Limestone County there too. So that's what we see. This is the more intense stuff. To the north, rain is tapering off, or at least it's getting lighter. And then farther to the west, we are seeing areas where things are drying out fairly efficiently. So this kind of just gives us an update on the situation here. The severe thunderstorm warning on the southern fringes of our area, that will continue again until 3:30. So that's going to be for the strong winds and possibly some hail involved there. Again, hail is probably going to be more quarter to half dollar sized, winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour possible in those areas. And then flooding has been a persistent concern throughout the area. Flash flood warnings include parts of Navarro, Johnson, Hood, Somervell, and Erath counties until 4 o'clock. And as I mentioned, even if the storm is gone, those flash flood warnings will be left in place to account for runoff that could make some impact. Let's see, getting real still in Mart outside of Waco. So just getting some reports of the experience there. Stacy saying your daughter is driving towards Waco. Should she pull over and wait a minute? I don't know where she's driving from, but I'm assuming if she hasn't pulled over yet that it's probably somewhere where it's not raining as heavy right now. I would say if she can, and it's not raining very heavily where she is, pulling over might be a good idea, because that's going to allow her a little time to kind of let that heavier rain and those stronger winds get out of there, make a better, safer driving environment there in parts of McLennan County. So that would be my recommendation there. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll continue to bring more updates throughout the afternoon. I'm going to wrap up live stream coverage here. That will allow me to sit back down at the desk, kind of keep a continual eye on all of this. But as I said, dry air is moving our way. So we are drying out in Hood and Somervell counties. Pretty soon we'll be drying out in Bosque and Johnson counties. Eventually that will continue on from west to east. So hopefully by the time we get to 6, 7 o'clock here, we'll be done with all of this rain. So stay tuned to South Metro, whether we will continue to bring updates throughout the rest of the afternoon and the evening.